right, so here is our agenda. I am going to say a prayer here in just a few minutes, and then some announcements, and I'll come back to that after I say a little prayer. And then we're going to be talking about that conference in Indianapolis, learning about what it was, then the student and professor perspectives. We have a Padlet there where we have collected a lot of our thoughts and lots of pictures, and then talk about what we presented. Okay. All right. Well, at this time, I'd like to say a word of prayer. I always say this in my classes, but please know that if you have any prayer requests or anything that you would like me to pray for, please let me know. You can send me an email. I know that doesn't sound very personal, but you can always send me an email. You can always talk to me in person. But know that I pray for you all every day, especially our student teachers right now, who are just right there at the end of their wonderful journey here at Asbury. So, all right, let's go to the Lord in a word of prayer. Dear Jesus, thank you for this day. Thank you for these students. Thank you for the professors who have joined us and those who will be joining us tonight. We are so thankful for your traveling mercies when we went to Indianapolis, for this time that we were able to spend together as faculty and students. I just pray for all of our students here tonight, those who are student teaching. Just keep going. So proud of all the things that you've done so far, and for this, the other students here. I pray for the semester, for those who are transitioning maybe from one class from the last 8 weeks into another one. Just be with us all as we are here tonight, and be with us just in our hearts as we are sharing and talking about this experience. In your name I pray, amen. Okay, some announcements. We will be having the TEL/SOE School of Education banquet on the 12th of April. We are still, I will be meeting with the TEL cabinet. We're going to be talking about kind of themes and what it's going to look like. But at this time, it will be on the 12th. That's not tentative. But the time is probably about 5:30. Tentative time. It's at the Wilmore Municipal Building in Wilmore, in the cafeteria. And Dr. Ryle, do you want to just say real quick where that is for those who do not know where that is? We can't. You're muted.
It's on the same street that Asbury is, or the seminary is. If you came out of the university and went as though you were going to High Bridge, in about one city block, maybe a little bit less than a city block on the right, you would come to what looks like an old school. It is the old Wilmore Elementary School. And we will be having the banquet in that building in what used to be the cafeteria. We had it there last year, and it was a great experience, and we celebrate our student teachers, and just a great night to be an educator or an educator, School of Education candidate. So hoping to see everybody there.
And I don't mean to put Dr. Bixler on the spot, but Dr. Bixler, tell us about your experience in that at that school. Your history.
That is the elementary school that I attended. So when I go in that cafeteria, that's the cafeteria I spent 6 years of my life in. And it's also, Dr. Ryle said, it's the old Wilmore Elementary. It's actually the old Wilmore High School, which is where my mother went to high school. So,
nice.
Good memories there.
Nice. I just think that's neat. Every time you say that, I'm like, wow, that is just wonderful. Okay, and then TEL dues. So some of the money that you pay for TEL dues goes towards the banquet, And so if you have not paid your dues, please, please, please come to me. If you have paid the dues, I have record of it. So if you have not, if you can come to me, it's either cash or check. We have been working very hard for the last few years to try to figure out how to do it electronically or with your phone or through something. But currently we are taking check or cash or money order. You could even give us one of those. All right, so are there any questions about the banquet or anything for the good of the group? Good. Okay. All right, so here's the Elacti conference. I'm looking a little goofy there. They told us to act silly, so this was sort of a candid shot of us at the Elacti conference. And I just think it's so fun. Everybody looks so happy. So I put that one in there. All right. So here is what it stands for is Elacti is the Association of Independent Liberal Arts Colleges. Woo, I spelled that wrong. I said that wrong. Colleges for teacher education. Sorry about that. I was trying to be so cool and get that right. But it's the Association of Independent Liberal Arts Colleges for Teacher Education. It was in Indianapolis, Indiana. It is a national conference, which is in the world of higher ed, a really amazing opportunity to be able to be a part of it. I think next year it's like in Colorado. This year, it being in Indianapolis, we could hop on a van and go on up there. So I'm going to let Dr. Bixler at this point kind of tell a little bit about it and why we why we did this.
Sure. So this organization is made up of private universities across the United States that are very similar to Asbury. They're similar in size and they are, like I said, private institutions. So we have the opportunity to come together once a year. And during that time, we are able to share innovative things we're doing in our teacher education programs to prepare you to be the most exceptional teachers that you're going to be. And we also have an opportunity to bring our challenges to other universities that are similar to us so that we can really sit down together and learn from each other how to deal with the challenges that we may be facing in teacher prep in 2023. And so, as Dr. Rose was saying, it was in Indianapolis. So this was an opportunity, since it was so close, for us to be able to take a large group of people and a large group of students with us. And so we traveled up to Indianapolis, and it's, if you've ever been to a conference, you'll know that they're set up with multiple sessions that you can attend. And we were able to have, I believe, 5 different sessions where we were able to share what we were doing at Asbury, what the faculty and the students had been working on. They put together some research projects, and we're just really able to showcase some innovative things that we're doing at Asbury to prepare you to be teachers. And I think you're going to hear about all 5 of them. Is that right, Allie? You're muted.
Oh my goodness. Sorry about that. Yes, you're going to hear about from our students here in just a minute. So yeah, it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. And I can't wait to show you the Padlet too. So I'm going to ask our students who were able to join us for this trip, if they could share about what was the collaboration like before. So what is it that you did in collaboration with the professors before we went to the conference, and then what you did at the conference? And you don't have to go through and talk all about each of your slides or something, but I really would like to hear, you know, how you collaborated and what that looked like when we were then at the conference. And then what you thought about attending a conference. And I will note that I believe we brought the only students. Isn't that correct, Dr. Bixler? I think it was. I didn't see a lot of other students.
Right. I think this year we were the only ones that brought students.
Which, I mean, I'm proud of us because I go to a lot of conferences and well, not a whole lot, but many of the conferences you do not see the students. And I think it is so, so important to have the students there because we are teaching teachers about teaching. And by bringing our students and helping them to learn about teacher prep, I think it's so important. All right, so I'm going to ask Mackenzie and Tanner. I'm going to pull up the Padlet, so give me a second. And I'll ask Mackenzie and Tanner to speak first. Hold on a second. I'm coming, just a second. What? Okay, just a second. Here we go. Okay, so I am so excited because over the past few days, we have had professors and students that went to the conference, add pictures and comments and things on here. And so I'm going to ask Tanner and Mackenzie, if either one of y'all could go first, to tell us about what you did, the collaboration before, and then you can also reference your pictures and the things that you have on here too.
I don't care to start.
Well, thanks, Tanner.
So I'm just going to start by talking about one of the Padlet posts that I made, and then I'll go into like the collaboration and the research part of it. So it's the first one on your screen, like the fourth one over, and I just put, I'm so thankful for this opportunity I was given to attend this conference, and I know that the other girls would say the same. It was an amazing experience, and we were able to gain insight from other institutions while also creating a closer bond with each other. Getting to share a passion for teaching with others and see my peers be successful in their path to becoming a teacher is truly one of the best feelings ever. So this was just super good and super like inspiring to me to be able to go with the other girls. And some of the girls like I had never like got to create a relationship with. So just to hear about their experience at Asbury and where they're at in their path to becoming a teacher was just super fun, and just getting to hang out with them and create new friendships. And so I'll talk a little bit about the collaboration part and what we did before leading up to the conference. So Dr. Brockman and Dr. Crook reached out to me and Kinsey late fall semester, I would say, and just asked us if we were interested in doing this research. And I'm going to be honest, I had no idea like what I was getting myself into, but I was like, sure, sign me up, like I'll do it. So we just kind of emailed back and forth, and then we were able to get together closer to time and just talk about the research and the goals that we wanted to accomplish within the research, just certain things we wanted to cover and look at. I'll let Kinsey talk a little bit about the like specifics of the research that we did, but we just got to collaborate together, talk about things we wanted to change, talk about things we wanted to add, things that we liked. And then from there, we took that and developed a survey and sent that survey out to people. And then we got to all work on the PowerPoint together, which was super fun. And we presented at the conference, and we actually presented the first day. And so we got that over with and got to just enjoy the second day and watch everybody else present. But it was just super fun to have this experience because I have never been to an educational conference and I've never presented in a professional environment like that. So it was just a super good experience. And then you can see from this picture, Dr. Crook is making us laugh. He's very good at that. So that was just super fun. It was a laid back environment, and yeah, it was just an amazing experience. So I'll let Kinsey go.
I guess I can talk more about the like research, like what we were actually researching and then going to present. So Tanner and I were both in Dr. Brockman's behavior intervention class last semester. And so she approached us to see if we wanted to I guess, dive deeper into that, which I thought was really cool because I was so excited about what we had been talking about in class. I thought it was just awesome that we got to explore it further with her. So with Dr. Crook, we reached out to a bunch of teachers that had just graduated from Asbury, and then even some student teachers, and asked them like about their experiences in the classroom when it came to behavior and classroom management, and if they felt prepared, or if they thought like classes here like had benefited them and they could use what they'd learned in like an actual teaching setting. And we used data from like if they had taken like a new class or not to see if our classes here at Asbury were making an impact. And we found that like they actually were. And that was so cool to get to take it to this conference and talk to other educators and get to hear what they thought about that. So besides just getting to like present our own like research, we got to hear from other schools, universities, and either other like organizations, and then get to talk to each other about all the things that we had been researching, and like talk about like specifics, like how does it actually work, like what are the actual benefits you see from that, and getting to hear that from a student perspective was really cool, just to see like how our profs are working to make sure that we get prepared as best we could.
Well, thank you all both for that perspective. And we will be having Dr. Crook and Dr. Brockman come in just a little bit to explain more. But we really, really wanted to highlight the students first. So thank you for talking about your experience there. Anything more you would like to add? You did a wonderful job.
Can I add something, Dr. Rhodes?
Please.
I will just say I heard wonderful things back from the people who attended this presentation, because classroom management is one of the things that first year, second year, third year teachers struggle with the most. And so they were so excited to hear about our research and what we're doing to help booster that skill within you before you go out into the schools. So they were very appreciative of the information.
Excellent. Thank you for adding that, Dr. Bixler. Okay, if you don't mind, I'm going to jump to Katie. Katie, do you mind talking about, and I'll try to find some pictures, but if you don't mind jumping in with some thoughts about your experience.
Yeah, totally. So I had a similar experience to Tanner, where I signed up for this in the fall. Dr. Ryle approached me and just said, would this be something you're interested in? And I really had no idea what it was, but I said yes anyway, because that's what you do when you're an ed major. You say yes to things when you don't know what you're saying yes to. But it's a good thing. But it turned out really, really well. Like, it was a really fun experience. I presented, and Dr. Willen and Dr. Ryle and I presented on our work sample that you'll complete in the 400 block and also during student teaching. And we just talked about how it is an effective way to teach candidates how to teach well. So we were basically looking at the research over 4 semesters to see if our student teachers and our 400 students were actually improving over time, that they were able to complete the components and do it successfully. And it was really interesting. Dr. Ryle and Dr. Willen were really understanding of the fact that I am a student teacher, so I've been really busy. And so collaborating with them whenever that was happening was really, really interesting. And it was just sweet to know that they were understanding of that we could still collaborate, but maybe it would look different than it normally would. They focused a lot on the research, and then my job was really to present those components from the perspective of a student. It was also really interesting because we could watch other students present. So we presented on the second day, so I got to see people present on the first and second day. Some of my peers that like I hadn't really met before, and got to see a side of them that I had never seen. And they did an amazing job. It was really cool to see them shine in this role and see them in a different perspective. There were also a lot of interesting presentations. This conference was more for like higher education, like college. And so it was interesting to see what kind of things that people present at that level. Not just what I was used to whenever I did conferences in high school, but something that was just a little bit different and towards a different audience. So it was a really great opportunity just to see, to push myself and see how much better I could do now that I've grown and I've been in this in college for so long and I'm about to graduate. Like presenting on my knowledge of something was a really great experience. So yeah.
And I love that. And I would like to add that Katie has had the opportunity twice now, one at a local conference and one at a national conference to present. And I think I was when I sent her an email earlier today, and I was thinking to myself, as an undergrad, I would have just loved that opportunity to be able to present and to kind of, be a little fly on the wall and find out more about teacher prep. And I think it was Dr. Willen who kept calling you Dr. Katie Simon. So maybe this will inspire you or others to maybe go further in your career. Okay, so do we have anyone else? I think anyone else that was at the conference that wanted to speak? I think there were a couple people who said that they were not able to come tonight. But they're here, just more pictures. So I do want to show you. This is Megan Moore. She was able to present with me and Dr. Brody. And then Tanner, would you like to, I would love it if, I don't know if she's still here. If you could tell me about this picture and why you took this picture or why you chose this picture on Padlet.
Yeah, so we were leaving and Dr. Rao was just in a great mood and he was ready to go to Culver's, which we ended up not going to Culver's, but he will get his Culver's one day. And he asked the people if he could take the sign and they told him yes. And so he grabbed the sign and was walking out with it, this big sign. And meanwhile, Dr. Worthen was like, put that back. And he was like, no, they told me I could take it. And we all thought he was joking, but they actually told him he could take it. So we loaded this big sign up, and then you can see Dr. Crook and Dr. Rao are making their way out of the conference, and everyone was watching us. So I just put, if you've never been on a trip with these two, well, all I have to say is experience it for yourself. You won't regret it. And then in all seriousness, we had incredible leaders, and I couldn't thank all of them enough for everything they do for us. I know I would not be who I am today without their love and support. So they are amazing, and they do love us and care about us so much.
Well, Tanner, thank you. When I saw that on the Padlet, I was so touched. And I mean, this is the sign right here, the Alacti sign. So this right here is the sign that he took. So I just think, I mean, I think it's just wonderful. So now I don't know, where are we going to put it, in the hallway?
I'm going to have all those ladies that presented come and sign it. It's in my office, waiting for them to sign it. And then all the School of Ed profs are also going to sign it. So I'll be reaching out to people in the next week or 2 or 3.
I love that. And because, well, I think Dr. Hamilton has been able to join us, but I wanted to, and I hope that we have a couple minutes. I really have to share something with everyone, something that I was able to experience right at the end of the conference. So just bear with me. I promise I'll be quick. But we went to this conference, and knowing that earlier there had been an outpouring, whatever you want to call it. I think Dr. Brown today, he was calling it the services, the outpouring services. So just very quickly, there was a lady that had been checking people into the conference. And at the very end, she came up to me and she's like, I got to tell you something. And I was like, what? And no one was there. It was just me. Everyone had gone to wait for the van. And she's like, I saw you all praying. And Dr. Ryle and Dr. Crook and a couple others wanted us to pray together before we presented. or well, I think that was the second day, but we were praying together. And it's just what we do. I didn't think anything of it. And this lady said that she immediately texted her husband and she said, I was watching you all. And she's like, and I texted my husband. And she said, my husband's been watching this whole thing with Asbury for the last, 2 weeks or whatever. And she said that when I saw you all praying, she's like, I thought that that it was just on TV. And so did my husband. My husband's like, well, I think this is amazing, but this must be just kind of, not real. And she said, seeing you all praying made me understand that this is who they are. And she was like, I was so excited and my husband was so happy. And she's like, and I was going to take a picture, but then I forgot to take a picture. And then very quickly, next to her was a vendor. And the lady said, hey, I want to tell you something too. She's like, the guy that was working with her, she's like, we're Jewish. I was like, okay. And she said it to me again, we're Jewish. And I was like, okay. And she's like, and I just have to tell you that you have totally helped me realize that the world is not just gone to crud. And I said, really? And she's like, yes, you have like totally helped me understand, humanity, that the world has humanity now. I was like, oh. She's like, and I just was so affected by you all praying together. And I was like, oh, so I had to tell you this because I've never forgotten it. And since that conference, and just had to say that we are real and we are who we are. And so that was so important for me to say to you. Okay. So now we're going to jump back into talking about what was presented. And we have some professors here that are going to talk about specifically what we presented on. So I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint. Just a second. Hope y'all didn't mind my talking about that. It was just, I don't know. It was really powerful to me that people see us and know us, and that we were just real the way we are. So I love it. Okay. So now I'm going to show my slide again. Okay. All right, so now we're going to talk about the things that we presented. And so I have some samples of slides from the presentations. And so I'm going to ask our professors who shared what we presented. I'm going to ask them to share. And then in any of our students that are here, if you want to add to that or ask questions, feel free to do that. Questions, though, if you could hold those questions till the end, you will have a chance to ask anything. Dr. Rao, did you want to say anything? I wanted to make sure I didn't. You're good?
No, you're good. You're good.
So the first one is preparing for curricular challenges. Now I shorten this and they will explain it a little bit more. But this is the presentation by Katie Simon, Dr. Ryle, and Dr. Willen. And I can click through the slides as you all talk about it.
This, the title of ours was Preparing for Curriculum Challenges through an Instructional Framework. And no matter where you are in Asbury program, unless you're in 201, you know something about the components that we have as a part of our instructional framework. And those are components like lesson plans and reflections and assessments, and there are 7 of those. And so we had 2 questions that we were looking at. Whenever you do research, you typically start with a question that you're hoping that the data gathering, data analysis portion of your research will help you to answer. And we actually had 2 of those questions. We wanted to know, first of all, what impact does when we have our students in 301, 401 and student teaching, when they're implementing that instructional framework, those components, what effect does that have on their ability to teach curriculum effectively? And then secondly, and in some ways more interestingly, we wanted to know, since all of our candidates have similar instruction, they all take 320, 201, 301, 401, 405, they all take all of those courses. We wanted to know that since they have those common courses, how effectively do candidates from different delivery methods, so APS, traditionals or undergrads, majors, LEd, biology, LBD, and genders, of course, male, female, how do they perform when they actually implement that instructional framework? You have another slide, right? You don't. So we gathered data about all of those items, and we presented a summary of the research we found, both on how well it prepares candidates to teach that curriculum, and then we did an analysis of how students did, whether they were, again, traditional or APS, elementary or secondary or middle school, or male, female. We shared the results of that data analysis with the people that attended our session.
And I want to add to that, that Katie did a wonderful job in explaining the components, the wonderful 7 components. When we say, oh, component 5 and component 6 and component 7, everyone is so excited about that. But she did such a wonderful job that, and I can't remember who asked her, but we were like, so can you do a video on these components to help other students in the future? So I thought it was great. Okay, let's see. I believe it is Gifted and Talented Day is next. And that was presented by Dr. Brittany Worthen and Faith Hops. And I will let Dr. Worthen talk about what they presented.
Hi, everyone. So Faith and I presented on a gifted and talented experience that we provide the identified 5th grade gifted and talented students in Jessamine County. They, you can go to the next slide. This was the title of our presentation that we had. And then the next slide will show you just a few components to our Gifted and Talented Day. So we have around 90 elementary students that come to campus. And I work with my elementary ed majors who are in the methods block course to plan a theme-filled day where the 5th grade gifted and talented students can come to campus and participate in different literacy and math stations where they are thinking critically and problem solving to come up with clues to help them solve, the big overall problem from the big theme. This past year we did, the students came to campus in late October, and this was right after the Queen of England had passed away. So we did a whole theme around Britain and what had happened with the Queen. And you can see in this picture, we all have our Cluedo shirts on. We decided to do the game Clue with our 5th grade students. And in Britain, they refer to the game Clue as Cluedo. We have 6 groups where students rotate around from group to group. And so we had to come up with a word that represented and had 6 letters because they needed to move to their 6 different stations. So it was perfect how it all worked out with coming up with the name. And you can see Dr. Crook and his London Tower of Guard costume. And then our methods girls were partnered with some of our elementary ed students that are in their sophomore year. They were in, think, a social studies methods class at the time. And
right.
they partnered with us to help us put on the day because it requires kind of an all hands on deck. And so one of the reasons why we decided to do this is because research tells us that a main goal for gifted and talented programs is to be able to focus on learning activities that will help to meet those differentiated needs with students needing that extra enrichment. So as a former elementary education, or as a former elementary school teacher, I did find it hard to be able to challenge my gifted and talented students. So if I would have had an opportunity like this for my students to participate in, it would have been awesome, but it was not around when I was teaching back in the day. We've been only doing this for about 5 years. And then also I found when doing some research on this that some great recommendations for teaching gifted students just include helping them to work together. So team collaboration, to be able to have students that work together from various schools. So when the students come to campus, they're from 6 different elementary schools in Jessamine County, and they're not grouped by school. They're all mixed between the 6 elementary schools. So they're able to be with groups of students that are not necessarily their friends. And then it just helps them to be able to compete in a nice academic way. We also took survey data from chaperones. I didn't include this in the slides, but we took survey data from the chaperones and teachers that attended, and also from the students. We sent out a Google Forms survey to all the students that participated in the field trip, and overall, nearly 100% of participants of this day just said they had a really great time. And a lot of them said it was one of their most favorite field trips. I sometimes wonder if that's because this is probably one of the first field trips these students have had post-COVID. And so they were just super, super excited to be on campus, and so were parents. So it was a really great day. Faith did amazing in our presentation, and just blew us out of the water with what she presented on. And it was a really great idea to be able to share with people from all over the country.
Thank you, Dr. Worthen. I took away a lot of things from your presentation. One of them was so cute. They really loved lunch. So, because they got to eat in the cafeteria, which I thought was just precious. They loved everything else about it too.
Always a highlight.
Yeah. Okay. Real quick, let me switch through. All right, so the next one, the next up is Dr. Crook and Dr. Brockman, who, as was shared earlier, Mackenzie and Tanner shared about their experience in collaborating. And I'm going to let Dr. Brockman and Dr. Crook talk a little bit about what their presentation was all about.
All right, ladies before gentlemen, Dr. Brockman.
I'll tell you briefly about our study, and then Dr. Crook, if you'll highlight some of the comments that we received.
I
think
will.
that would work. So we know that classroom management is a struggle for many new teachers. We get that feedback from our candidates who have completed our program, and that's clear throughout the research. So our questions had to do with how effectively are we preparing candidates to manage behavioral challenges in the classroom and to set up proactive and positive classroom management systems, and how can we do better with that? And then we looked a little bit at retention too, just to see if any of our completers, how committed they were, and if classroom management was a factor in that. So we developed a survey, and we sent it out to completers in all programs from the last 3 years. And we distributed 54 surveys, and then 13 were returned. Generally speaking, what we found was that our candidates reported feeling somewhat prepared, and it was the clinical experiences more than the coursework that was really beneficial for them in preparing them. And so some of our next steps are to integrate some classroom experiences with the clinical experiences in an intentional and meaningful way. We got some very insightful comments that will also help us moving forward, and I'll let Dr. Crook just highlight some of those.
Yeah, some of the got a lot of good feedback from the people we heard from. And the first one that you see up there talks about classroom management was a great course. But stay right there, please. But you can see it would be more beneficial to be in the 300 block. We put that one in there because this was from somebody who had been out in the field already for 2 years when we used to have classroom management in the 400 block. And we responded to that. And it is now in the 300 block. And so we do truly listen. Some of you who are in the 200 block right now and the 300 block, we value your input. And those student teachers that are going to be out teaching pretty soon, don't stop talking to us. We need to know, because you're out there in the trenches every day, and we want to know how we can better prepare you for that. I'm not going to sit here and read these to you. Just take a second, if you would, and just read those last 2 responses on this slide, please. I would characterize that last one is, when you see you're on top of things, it's proactive, right? You've heard us use that word a lot. And the one that sticks out right smack dab in the middle of that comment in the middle is relationships. We really cherish that, and we know you do too. And it just really hits home that it's all about relationships, and we want to be proactive in what we do. The thing that I took away from the survey just very quickly is that, as Dr. Brockman already has said, we need to have a stronger bridge between our clinical experiences and what we're doing in the classes that surround. We try to do that, but I know I can do a better job of doing that with the clinical and listening to our candidates in a better, more directional way.
And I just want to add that it was a pleasure to collaborate with Tanner and with Mackenzie, and they were so professional.
Amen.
And the experience was really beneficial, but particularly because our whole topic was around how well are we preparing candidates, and they just provided just such an important perspective in terms of what they're seeing and what they see to be the benefit and how we can improve. So it was a pleasure to collaborate with them, but particularly because of our topic was incredibly helpful.
Well, thank you all both for sharing about that. I believe the next one is me, but I was seeing if Dr. Brody is here. She said she had to teach and wasn't sure whether she could jump on. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the next one. And this was presented by Megan Moore, sorry, and Dr. Brody, and then myself. We were able to present on the topic of empowering teachers to serve all students in inclusive classrooms. And that's a question mark, because the title of our presentation was advocacy. It seems kind of long, but it's Advocacy Reconsidered: How can special education teachers and teachers of students who are English language learners coach and empower teachers to serve all students? I will tell you that the reason why we chose this topic was because Megan had made a comment to me and to Dr. Brody earlier last semester that, hey, she said to me, hey, I just heard this, Dr. Brody just talked about this in your class. Oh, and then you talked about it in your class. And she said, well, this happened multiple times where I was, talking out myself. I was talking about something, and then Dr. Brody was talking about something. And it had to do with collaboration and inclusion and culturally responsive teaching practices and things like that. And so we were thinking, because we want to be good stewards of our program, maybe how can we possibly co-teach a class in the future? And so we just, with the idea that we had from Megan, we thought about how we can take a class that already exists and look at some common themes there and maybe be able to teach that, co-teach that together. So we kind of looked at different situations, meaning like we looked at advocating in special ed and ESL. We looked at leadership, professional activities, collaboration, all of those things. This is just an example. And so we had discussed in our presentation that for English language learners, advocating teaching others to advocate for students who are ELL is a big part of it. And so, so if you look at ESL, you are advocating for families and communities. You're also advocating for educators at the school to receive the training that they need to be effective educators. And then teaching and helping administrators to make those database decisions and make, really think about the needs of the students based on that data. And then with special education definitely has a big push for advocacy. So making sure that teachers are trained in the practices that are those high leverage practices. Those who have had me know that I talk about that probably too much, but I don't think too much. So how are we going to help teachers to teach about or to integrate these practices in their classrooms? And then by also how a special education teacher can be a leader and advocate while being a leader for the students in their school by providing professional development, speaking, writing, acting in situations that help other students. And then this is the feedback. So from Megan. And so Megan had said, all right, let's look at both classes. And we were looking actually at ED 320 and ED 290. We are not combining those classes, but taking themes from those courses and taking a course that already exists and integrating some of these common themes into that course. And so she said that some of the things that she learned from both classes were that for students who are ELL and students who have disabilities, you are providing accommodations. You are providing visual supports. You are doing progress monitoring. You are completing assessments. You are working on parent conferences, parent involvement. The students who are ESL or ELL students have a personalized service plan, and in special education, if they qualify for special education, they have an individual education plan or program, an IEP. And so those were some things that she saw were very common between both areas. Okay. All right, and please, if you have any questions, we'll just wait till the end because we are going to let Dr. Hamilton talk about what she was able to present on.
Well, hi, everybody. Unfortunately, Olivia had another meeting, or she would have loved to have been here with us tonight, but I got to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart, and that is multimodal literacies, which I'm sure lots of you in classes with me have heard about these plenty, but we specifically looked at them related to Story Hour as part of the Arts and Humanities class for elementary educators. Olivia did a little bit of research in this. I only pulled her slides in tonight. So this is a quote that she really resonated with. Although schools all too frequently emphasize and send the message to children that the written text is of primary importance in reading, we know that picture books intricately weave the meaning into both the art and the illustrations and the written language. So we were looking for what are resources that are happening with our students where they're already entering into literacy, even from the youngest of ages. So if you'll go to the next slide, Dr. Rhodes, this is a class all of you in elementary education know that you've been taken. It's ED 276. And recently we integrated a story hour lab experience. And so this year we have enough candidates that they work in pairs, they choose their children's book, and then they look for all the different ways to incorporate not just arts and humanities, but different multimodalities to engage students in meaning. So you'll see on the next slide, Olivia really focused on reading images, how the students weren't just obviously listening to the text, but they were actually reading the pictures themselves. So I don't know, Dr. Rhodes, can you play that so we can hear it?
Yes, I'll unmute myself. I think you'll be able to hear it. Ooh.
But that didn't mean that he couldn't try to scare his friend every once in a while. Ooh. He is.
So in this little video excerpt, you guys, we thought we'd be multimodal and how we shared some of our just again, beginning inquiry into multimodal literacies for Olivia. And so she watched this video quite a few times, and she was drawn to the little girl that's in the, I guess, the second from the right in the purple shirt, because she was just enamored and she was clearly responding to the pictures before Olivia and Ava were using gesture and even reading the words on the page. So if you'll go to the next one, Dr. Rhodes, we looked at specifically, oh, sorry, I guess I didn't put it in there. So you guys, we looked specifically at reading images and how the gesture was bringing support. And obviously, again, we do this because multimodal literacies, when we raise pre-service teachers and teachers in general, when we raise our awareness of all of these resources, it combats deficit views that we often have of students, okay? So it makes room for us to value how our students are not just reading and writing, but making meaning beyond just print reading and writing. And I'm all for that, as many of you know. I want to draw your attention to just the very last I'm sorry, I have a herd of elephants here. Really, they're just 2 dogs, but they're going back outside for just a minute. So really quickly, multimodal literacies can support us in learning about the strengths, or what we call in the research students' funds of knowledge, in the context of literacy instruction. And it gives you and I concrete ways to not just see our students with labels and deficits and the achievement gap, or sometimes you may have heard the gap group, but it lets us look at our students and consider, what are their strengths? Where are they already with me in understanding my content? So that was just a little bit about what we shared at the conference. Thanks.
I really liked the video. That was good. And I was there at this story hour. That was amazing. I think that you actually heard me maybe in the background going, ooh. So, well, thank you all, everybody, for sharing tonight about the collaboration and action. Hopefully you all who are listening and watching tonight see the benefit of this collaboration. And so I want to open it up. We have like 3 minutes. If anyone has any questions or comments or anything they'd like to add, we would welcome those questions or comments. And you can also feel free to put it in the chat. I also have good wait time because I was a teacher. But if you all don't have any questions or comments, that's okay. Just wanted to open it up. So I'll give everybody about another minute or so and feel free to ask any questions. It looks like we might have. Oh, Ashley says that she loves us. That's a great comment. Thank you.